Okay, here's video number 2 for today. I figured out what I wanted to talk about a little bit, and it was that Owen Benjamin and Eric Dubay are gonna do a meet and talk sometime this week. They are saying so. It's like they're some of these. They're keeping this this idea alive right now. It's pretty interesting. I just did that last video about Logan Paul being a pathetic person for going through and believing that it's possible that the earth was flat. As a matter of fact, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna come out of the earth, the closet or whatever, and be like, I'm a flat earther," or whatever he said. And then he had met this girl, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I really like her," and then just because his buddy told him that he was joking all along, he flip-flopped back and said, "Oh, absolutely, no way." I mean, he like flipped out and whatever, made a big scene. Thought that was a joke, so I just touched on that on the last video. But Eric Dubay and Owen Benjamin are going to meet up this week, so they're keeping it alive. I've been curious as to what Corbett Report has, what his thoughts on the subject are, but I haven't seen anything, and I would guess that he would probably stay away from the topic, but he's going to have to talk about it at some point, probably. And Charles Koss is another guy. He did a little funny April Fool's thing where he was quitting YouTube, and that he had a huge house now. And I thought that somehow related to Logan Paul, since in the video that he did, it was he had this huge house that he lived in with his buddy or something, with his buddies. I don't know what's going on there, but you know, kid gets up and smashes all this stuff, and then goes on this long trip, and people are yelling at him and stuff. And I don't know, it's funny stuff. And you know, I mean, it's obvious all along that it was a joke, considering it had that silly flat Earth model where flat Earth is paired up against all the other circular planets, and that's not the model. The true flat Earth, or somebody who actually is looking for the truth and looking into the information, would even consider, because it's silly. So that, and what else was I thinking about? There's something else I wanted to talk about. What it was, I do not know. Should I do some painting? Maybe show you some books I picked up yesterday. I picked up this one book, which I haven't got into. I buy books. I buy them all the time at the library. But this one looked super interesting if I can find it. Oh, oof. Super interesting, super duper interesting. Where was that one book? And I misplaced it already. Oh, darn. Here it is. How to talk about places you've never been. So, I don't know what this book is about exactly, but on the importance of armchair travel by Pierre Bayard. And he also wrote How to Talk About Books You Haven't Read. That's pretty good. I'll just read some of the stuff here. How to Talk About Books You Haven't Read, which is the other book, not this one, is an amusing disquisition on what is required to establish cultural literacy in a comfortable way, lightly laced with irony. The book nonetheless raises such serious questions as: what are true motives for reading? Is there an objective way to read a book? What do you retain from the books you've read? Interesting questions. Witty and charming and often fun. So that's another one here. And the first one was Joseph Epstein, The Wall Street Journal, and the second one was New York Magazine, Sam Anderson. But I don't know, maybe I'll just sort of see what looks interesting. Let's look at the table of contents in this book, which is How to Talk About Places You've Never Been. Is let's see, various ways of not traveling. Number 1, places you don't know. Number 2, places you've been through. Number 3, places others have talked about. And 4, places you've forgotten. Talk about travel is the next section. Number 5, in the field of anthropology. Number 6, in the media. Number 7, in sporting endeavors. Number 8, in the bosom of the family. So, interesting stuff. Time travel, through the mirror, making love. I don't know. This must be kind of a joke book, like the other one they just said. But let me just read some sort of random thing that I just came out of here. The debate around Margaret Mead's theories underwent a radical new turn when anthropologist Derek Freeman's 1983 work, Margaret Mead and Samoa, The Making and Unmaking of an Anthropological Myth, appeared. In this polemical book, the Samoan island specialist explained that too much time had been spent thinking about the interpretation of the phenomena described by Margaret Mead without anyone taking the time to verify their actual existence beforehand, and that the purported sexual freedom of the young Samoans, which had fed imagination across the globe, was a myth. So I don't know what that was about. Travel, let's see. Places you've forgotten. Places you've forgotten. If Marco Polo's travel narrative have long been considered reliable and of great scientific interest for the original information they offer on unknown parts, the same cannot be said of Chateaubriand, who has elicited great doubts among literary historians. These doubts were so great that Chateaubriand quickly acquired a solid reputation as an armchair traveler. Once the veracity of his accounts had been investigated, Chateaubriand is more appreciated for the quality of his writing and the poetic force of his evocations than for the precision of his geography or the accuracy of his chronologies. So that's just a little bit of that book, but I do have, interestingly enough, and I noticed it earlier in this pile back here of books, pile of books, a couple of which I got yesterday. I'm sorry if you can't hear me over here. But in my pile of books there, this pile of books, I had this book, nice cover, and it's the Travels of Marco Polo, which was just mentioned in that book. And so here's that. So fairly old copy of this. Got some serious swelling, I guess they call it. So maybe I'll dig into that, check it out. It's got some blue edge here for some reason, so maybe that was the way they marked the books earlier. I don't know. So that, I also got E.L. Doctorow, selected essays. So he talks about Jack London, Hemingway, and the Constitution. Big books of when he wrote this, apparently. And this was written in 93. So what's in here? Theodore Dreiser. He talks about Hemingway, Orwell, Jack London, Reagan, Ronald Reagan, presidents, and some other stuff. Two Waldens. This is interesting. Very interesting. Check this out at some point, probably. And yesterday, I also got Me, the Stories of Katharine Hepburn. I don't know if I'll get into this book, but that looks like a heck of a book. Nice book. Looks to be in nice shape. I'm not really a Katharine Hepburn fan, exactly. I don't know. But nevertheless, oh, here's a cool one. Al Franken, Lies, and the Lying Liars Who Tell Them. I read this a little bit. I didn't remember what he was talking about, but oh boy, yep. Interesting stuff. Very interesting. What else do I have here? Fun with String. Fun with String. A bunch of books. Just a bunch of books. What else? What else? What else? What else? Bunch of books. But I think I'll end this one too. And this was a little long because I didn't know. I just thought I'd have a little fun.